What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 9 of the Save Data Cast, the gaming podcast where we talk general discussion about gaming topics, reviews, previews, thoughts on what we've been playing, pretty much everything under the sun. I'm your host, David. I am joined this week by our one and only legal counsel, Prij.
Good evening, all.
And I'm also joined by the hockey sticks and sickle herself. That's Eise.
Number one, Hilda Stan in the house.
Ooh, you might have to fight some people for that title.
That's fair. There are a lot of Hilda Stans.
Yeah, she's a pretty popular character.
You might have to fight
There
people.
are a lot of Hilda Stans.
Like, I can get number one Psychonauts fan pretty easy. There are not a ton of us. Oh, man. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. Before we get to what we've been playing or the topic of the show, we always go through our Fantasy Critic. So if you're not familiar with Fantasy Critic, we all, at the beginning of the year, picked a bunch of games based on their Fantasy Critic, or sorry, not their Fantasy Critic score. Their Open Critic scores, we get points. It works like generally fantasy sports drafts this year. At all familiar with those. So since our last episode, a couple pickups. We had Zach's team of Rectangle Helix drop Deltarune. Shame right there. But he did manage to pick up Returnal, which has been doing pretty well. And we have Prij's Polite Cat LLC picking up God of War Ragnarok for $1.
Oh shit!
Thought about as just in case some surprise announcement hits during E3, I want to already have it under lockdown. When inevitably doesn't happen, I mean,
listen.
Again.
They said it was coming this year. They're a bunch of dirty liars.
They've said a lot of things. They said Elden Ring was coming last year.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, I don't think they did.
I think people said that. I don't think the publisher said that.
I think you're the only one crazy enough to believe that. That sounds like a you problem.
And Prij's Polite Cat LLC also tried to pick up Returnal, but got outbid by Zach. Zach bid 6, Prij bid $1. So that's a bummer, Prij. Sorry.
Didn't think anyone was even going to try for it.
In terms of stuff that came out and got reviewed, I think last episode we had a few reviews for Nier Replicant version 1.22474487139. But now it's been a couple weeks. It's got more reviews. It's sitting at an 83, so that gives Prij 13 points. Let's see what else we have. New Pokemon Snap came out. It's doing a lot better than I thought, so I'm regretting counterpicking that one.
Yeah, I'm getting some points off that.
That's got an 81, which is minus 11 for me, plus 11 for Eise. Let's see.
Not a bad guess.
What else came out? Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, I think, got reviewed since we were on, or the review changed a lot. It's at a 74 right now. Giving Chris 4 points, and the big two for Zach, both coming out. Returnal sitting at an 86 for 16 points, and Resident Evil Village sitting at an 84 for 14 points. And RE Village comes out like today, right?
Yes, I believe.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I believe like you could pre-download it yesterday, or like either pre-download it or completely download it yesterday at like 7 or something. Because I know Zach was talking about how he would
7 p.m. last night.
Yeah.
So it's been out for 24 hours and 46 minutes.
But I think reviewers had reviews out for that days ahead of time, so that's probably a good, decent representation of the score. I think that's it for Fantasy Critic. Eise, it's been a couple episodes since you were on, I believe. I don't think you were on the last one.
I was not.
What have you been playing?
I think the main thing we were talking about before the stream, but Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Heck yeah. Prij and I both love that game.
Yeah. Seems like everyone I fucking know loves this game. I'm borrowing it from my roommate, and it's like one of his favorite games of all time. I've got like... I'm like 7, 8 chapters in. I don't know exactly. So not super far, but still like 40 hours or something. So this game isn't very fast.
Dang, you taking your time too.
I really am taking my time. I think I'm at like 36 hours. And I just, for those who know, I beat the Battle of the Eagle and Lion. So
that's like
I'm getting it.
I think Prij, correct me if I'm wrong. That's like the halfway point for the monastery stuff, right?
I'd say a little. Yeah.
Or maybe a little past halfway, but
yeah, I either call it
close.
halfway or slightly past halfway.
Mhm.
Because there's a couple of levels around that area that actually aren't super long.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it also means I've got more points to spend on battles between. I've got more points to spend like talking
That's
to
true.
people, which means it
that
takes
is
longer to get between.
That is about the point where you're going to start getting the you can do 2 battles per week, and that
I've been
actually
able to do 2 battles for a while.
Okay, yeah, that drastically increases the amount of time you will spend on the game because you're going to start wanting to use it for even more support points and even more EXP farming.
Yeah, so this game's going to take me a while, and that's just the first run. I don't know that I'm going to like immediately turn around and do another run. I might turn around and like play a different Fire Emblem game. I might get back to Monster Hunter.
Is this your first Fire Emblem game, or have you played other ones? Oh, okay.
No, I've played back in like 2016. I think I played Awakening and Echoes, and then back in 2017, I think I played Path of Radiance, which is my favorite Fire Emblem game so far. I've played a little bit of Fates, but kind of bored by it. It's not the best game. And then I've played a little bit of some of the others, but not a whole lot.
Which Fates did you play?
The like special edition that includes both.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, I know Jason has much stronger feelings on like the Fates games because I think he actually really likes Conquest, I believe.
He really likes Conquest, yes.
Because they do some really cool stuff in Conquest, but Birthright is pretty boring compared to Conquest.
Well, there's 3 of them plus the special edition, right? There's like Fate. There's
Conquest. No, there's 2 of there's 3 campaigns total.
Yeah.
Yes.
Birthright, Conquest, and Revelations. And Revelation is the special one.
Yep.
That combined that is sort of the true ending in a sense.
But I don't know. The one I downloaded was just called Fire Emblem Fates, and it let me choose like which one I wanted to do. So.
That's just the later versions are like that.
Yes.
Sad folks like me had to buy the game separately when they came out.
So I guess back to Fire Emblem. I didn't realize, or to Three Houses, I didn't realize like how much of a Persona game this was going in. I knew like a little bit about it, but God, it's like, what if you took the dungeons out of Persona and replaced them with battles? Which, you know what? The dungeons in Persona suck. The battles in Fire Emblem are fantastic. So, it works. It does like slow down the pace, and if you just want like a Fire Emblem game to be Fire Emblem, I think you can ask Jason about this, but like Three Houses isn't what you want.
Yeah,
you're gonna look at like Awakening, Path of Radiance, like even Echoes, which I love but is divisive. But if you want a Persona game with good dungeons and slightly subpar like Persona stuff, like the monastery sections are not as good as like Persona overworld stuff, but they're close and I like them and they've got good characters, so I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad because that game's super fun. I'm looking forward to when you get later in the game and we can talk more spoilery stuff.
Yeah,
indeed.
And just to say it on the stream, I'm doing the Golden Deer route.
That's
Golden Deer route, but I'm like heavily recruiting. I've got like Dorothea and
that's how everyone does it.
Ingrid.
Yeah. The only sad thing is you can't get Hilda and Red Eagle, Black Eagle.
Black Eagle. Or I think I don't think you can get her in Blue Lion either.
You can, but you have a very, very tight window to do it, like 2 chapters.
Huh.
Because I looked up how to do it for mine because I was like, I want Hilda because I'm not playing Golden Deer yet.
I've got the like recruitment Serene's Forest like wiki page open. Apparently Hilda, you need 30 charm and C and axe. If you're leading the Black Eagles, you can't can't be recruited until chapter 12 after spoiler. Now, I don't know what spoiler is, but
yeah,
if
don't
you know,
that.
Spoiler is spoiler.
Yes.
Oh, so you can get her in Black Eagle. I didn't think you could at all. Huh.
Yeah, but only if you spoiler.
Only if you spoiler. Cool. Any other games, Elise, or any more you want to talk about on Fire Emblem?
I've also been playing some Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. It's a Monster Hunter game.
Right.
I've played like 300, 400 hours of it on my 2DS back in the day. But I got it on my Switch and just been soloing it. I'm working my way through.
It's on Switch now?
Rank. Yeah, it's been on Switch for a couple of years. I think it came out.
Oh, I totally missed that. Okay.
2018, 2019?
Totally missed that.
Yeah. Great fucking game. At this point, I think it's still my favorite Monster Hunter game. But, World is probably better onboarding. Rise is probably better onboarding.
I mean, that's
Rise
expected.
is probably better. The way I'd put it is Rise is a better core game. But Double Cross just has so much content to do and so many of my favorite monsters that I just can't put it down. Did
they release the newer patch with more monsters for Rise yet?
No, that. Oh, yes. A couple weeks ago, there was the 2.0 patch that included 3 or 4 new monsters, plus 2 new Apex monsters, which are the bosses of the Rampage mode. Plus, you can fight the 1.0 Apex monsters, but not the 2.0 Apex monsters outside of the Rampage and normal hunts. So it was a really good update. Should have been the base game, but oh well. But it definitely did add some solid enough end game for a while at least. Some content, which is nice.
Do you think... Because that game was released, in April? Right?
It was
or March. Sorry.
It was either early April, end of March. I don't know exactly.
But that update's so close. I feel like they wanted to get that in the base game and they just missed the date.
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, for the update to be about to be basically a month or less than the actual release date means that it was almost ready for release.
Yeah,
they just fell a little bit short and didn't want to delay the game.
Which honestly, it
gave us some time to
Yeah, I mean that's the correct decision in my opinion.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst. Gave us some time to grind up to fight the monsters, build our sets, and then do that. So it worked out. But I would still say if you don't have much interest in Monster Hunter or just want to try it out, I would say wait for a year until they get the Ultimate Edition and everything, just so you actually have a full game to play.
They didn't do an Ultimate for World, did they?
Iceborne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Anything else, Elise?
I think that's pretty much it.
God. Every time I pull you on here, I'm like, I should try Monster Hunter, and then I'm like, I get scared of how much time that game takes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time. It eats it up. Because you say, I want to do one more hunt. And then that hunt takes, depending on the game, depending on if you're doing solo and how leveled your equipment is, 10 to 30 minutes. And then you're like, but wait, I just need to finish this, this gun or this lance or this armor piece or this armor set. And you're like, okay, I just need to kill that 1-2 more times. I need to kill this other monster. And next thing you know, it's 2 a.m.
2 a.m. and then the next thing you know, it's 5 a.m. and the next thing you know, it's the light has turned on outside and you have to go to work.
Yeah. But it is one of those games where you barely notice the time pass. You look at the clock and...
Oh, that's dangerous.
It's dangerous, but it's good.
It's dangerous. Maybe once I'm unemployed, I'll play that. Prij, what have you been playing?
All right. So 3 things. One, I'll dismiss the wave of the hand. I tried the campaign mode of Battlefield 5 because it was free for PlayStation Plus, and it sucks, and I got bored in an hour of it.
Okay.
That's why and now I know why Battlefield games are only talked about for their multiplayer. And that's pretty much all I'll say on that.
Bad Company had like some entertaining campaign stuff, but it's a multiplayer game.
Exactly.
The Battlefront 2 campaign ain't bad, and that's basically a Battlefield game.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, so that's all I'm going to say about that. Things I've actually been playing are, one, I'm playing through The World Ends With You Final Remix because the anime is out and the sequel's in about 2 months. So I thought it was a good time to fully throw myself into the first game in both of its mediums to prep for that. And I mean, it's The World Ends With You. I love the style, the aesthetic, the story, the music. The gameplay is awkward and clunky, even on the Switch, because the full touchscreen is just weird and hurts your hands after a very short period of time. But
I forget that the Switch has a touchscreen most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not supposed to. It's too big to effectively touchscreen. So like my hands get uncomfortable after playing it for like an hour.
It's also like not supported by most games.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, it's not that long of a game. I've already beaten the story mode. Now I just have to play the bonus chapter that they added for the Switch for the final remix. So,
I didn't know they added a chapter. That's cool.
Yes, they did. They added a chapter, and it's already confirmed that one of the characters from that bonus chapter is going to be in the sequel. So it's worth playing the bonus chapter, or at least reading about it if you plan on playing the sequel. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, even if the gameplay is awkward, just because I love so much of how they designed that game.
Yeah.
But then more substantially, I'm about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Hell yeah.
That has been overall very fun. It's incredible to see how gorgeous it is. And to see, again, I truly do think Final Fantasy VII had a great story and great characters. And to see it so vividly told with such beautiful graphics has honestly been a true treat. So I've been really enjoying that. Gameplay is good. It shines during boss fights. Sometimes it's a little stagnant during fighting through mobs, but it shines exceptionally well during boss fights. Which is great, especially boss fights against like a single like big monster. It's a lot of fun to just rapidly switch through your characters, manage your ATB meter, and all the fun stuff. So it's fine when going through mobs. It's great when fighting bosses.
You're playing
game is very
PS5,
dedicated,
right?
Huh?
You're playing PS5, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've had no like texture drop or lag issues. It's played gorgeously.
Man, that was like my only complaint.
That came out like a year ago Monday. Yeah.
It came out, I think, I want to say 10th. April.
I just looked it up. It's April 10th.
Yeah. So a year and a month ago, yeah.
Didn't they have like a 1-year exclusivity on PlayStation?
Oh, a story about that actually came out today.
Did it?
With the like PS5 upgrade version and that intergrade mission and all that stuff, Sony extended the exclusivity by 6 more months.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
You know what? I can deal with that. I can live with that.
So
I got things to play.
And they haven't even said anything about the other systems though. So like I don't know if they have something ready like as soon as the window expires, or if it'll still be a while before they're able to put it on the different consoles and PC or whatever. And if they are going to put it on PC, you never know with Square.
That's fair.
They make weird decisions sometimes, but yeah. So it got extended by 6 months so I think that's October.
Yeah.
And Dinku, it's Final Fantasy VII Remake is the one that was exclusivity extended to October.
But yeah, I mean, the only other thing I will say is that they sometimes do sacrifice the game's pacing in service of the story. which I immensely respect because I love the story of this game. But from a gameplay perspective, there are a couple of very long walk and talk segments.
Yep.
Where nothing happens,
yes,
and I can see that taking away the enjoyment if you're not as engrossed in the story like I am. But otherwise, very good game. Excited to get through the last third of it over the next week or so.
Okay, 2 questions for you, Prij.
Go for it.
Or are you primarily running in your party?
What do you mean? I mean, most of the game, the party's set.
I mean, okay, yeah, most of the time you only have 3 people. I guess that's true.
Yeah, I've never had more than 3 people.
Yeah, you get to choose at a point.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a bad question. Second question, best girl.
See, this is so hard because I've always loved Tifa, but in this game they made Jessie such a great character because she's just so unequivocally thirsty for Cloud, and I have the utmost respect for how she doesn't try and hide it in the slightest. But I can't remember her name. Whoever is doing Aerith's voice work is fucking killing it. Absolute 10 out of 10 shit for whoever is voicing Aerith. I used to remember her name. I cannot think of it right now. But absolute 10 out of 10 for how good she is doing with bringing that character to life. Just absolutely outstanding job. To answer your question, I'm just going to say Jessie because she wants Cloud and she's not afraid to be very open about it, and I respect her immensely. Jessie is horny on main.
She really is. I very much appreciate that she is just very blunt. Brianna White.
Okay, Brianna White does an absolutely
voice actress.
God tier job as.
Took me a while because it turns out Aerith has had many different voice actresses in the different media.
That's a true statement.
At one point, she was voiced by Mandy Moore.
Oh shit!
Interesting.
Which I did not know at all. She plays Aerith in Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 1.5 Remix.
That's the only Aerith I know.
That's very funny.
Well, that one's Mandy Moore, I wouldn't say famous, but singer from the early 2000s, late 90s, whatever she was. Oh, man.
It's wild that, I think the relationship is supposed to be the opposite, where you know characters and then you see them in Kingdom Hearts, but it's the complete opposite for me. So I see Aerith and I'm like, oh, she's from Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, you're not wrong, but also you're wrong.
Also, you're a mad woman.
Also, I've only watched I watched a Let's Play of the first maybe third of the game, and Aerith is definitely best girl. You're wrong.
No, it's Jessie.
It's Aerith.
I mean, didn't get to the Jessie chapter yet, probably. It's Jessie.
You know what? That's possible. That's possible.
I mean, Aerith's chapters are fine and all, but the Jessie chapter, oof, it's so good. I love Jessie so much. I'm so ready for the intergrade in part 2. Oh my god. Any other thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Remake, Prij?
No, I am, again, obviously I can already tell that they're gearing up for some changes from the regular storyline, and I had something unfortunately slightly spoiled about the ending, but it wasn't terribly spoiled, so I'm still very much looking forward to how these new plot elements end up playing into the end of this game as how I remember it from the original Final Fantasy VII. So I'll have final conclusive thoughts when I finish it.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that, whether it's your post 2020 game of the year or not.
Probably not. Again, as much as I love the story, I don't love the gameplay. I just like it, and then like it a lot during boss fights. But there are gameplay aspects that, again, I'm not in love with. But still, very good game.
That's fair. Is it the best Tales game, Prij?
The best Tales game?
I mean, the combat is basically Tales combat.
Damn, I wasn't even thinking about it like that. It might be. It might be the best Tales game. Oh wait, I do have one other thing to say.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Fuck Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny is kind of
maybe the single worst character to ever be added. No, it's not. But he is an absolutely worthless character who contributes nothing to anything, and his inclusion in this game for more than 10 seconds was an absolute mistake.
He was in the original one, right? He just was like a super minor character.
If he was only in for 5 seconds, because in this game he is a worthless waste of my time, and he's not funny, he's not interesting, he just wastes screen time every time he exists.
Okay, yeah, he is in the original, but even the wiki on him said this is Johnny's wiki entry for gameplay in Final Fantasy VII, not the remake. Johnny can be interacted with in a few instances throughout the game, but does not have any gameplay significance.
Perfect, as it should be.
So yeah, he was a very minor character in the first one. All right, I guess I'll go next. I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. I have finished Horizon Zero Dawn, and I finished the Frozen Wilds DLC.
Oh, nice.
It was good. I'm still in the same position before, where I'm definitely not as hot on it as you and Chris are, Prij.
Right.
But I have softened a bit as the latter half of the game is like 10 times better than the first half, I would say. Like the latter half is just so significantly improved on the beginning of the game. That I just really enjoyed that part. The DLC was kind of meh for me. I don't know how you felt about the DLC.
I really liked it, actually. I would have loved them to introduce a few more new machines than they did. But the machines they did introduce are very, very tough and a very worthwhile challenge, especially in groups. And I think the story, the way that the story of the DLC can be played at any time, and either helps you, like, learn extra bits about the main story or give you clues to the main story, is very cool. And I think they handled that well, given that this is such a story-centric game.
Yeah, I thought that was good. I thought the main quest line in Frozen Wilds was pretty good, but like there was so much more outside the main quest line, and I didn't really jive with anything outside the main quest line.
Yeah, no, I don't really think any of the side quests are much to talk about in that one. They don't really introduce anyone super worthwhile. And
the machines were cool, but yeah, like there weren't. I think they added like 4, and 2 of them.
No, technically 2. One's just a fire and ice variation.
Yeah,
of each
that's
other.
what I was just about to say. I was like, well, I think it was the other thing 3 or 4.
And the other thing is just, again, the Daemon machines are technically on there, and then the control tower, which you don't really fight. So there are really only 2 new designs.
And even the one is really just a Ravager.
Yes. A Scorcher is kind of just a Fire Ravager. That's a decent point.
So I really think the only new one is the bear.
Yes. But damn, those bears are fucking tough.
Yeah, the ice bears aren't so bad, but the variant bear that I won't say because that's a mild spoiler. Fuck that thing. I hated that.
Fuck
I will say one more thing on it before I save the rest for the spoiler cast we're gonna do. There's a set of armor you get in the base game that I very much like, and they put in a specific mechanic to disable that armor at points in the DLC, which I thought was fucking stupid.
Wait. What?
That's really funny.
Did you use the shield armor?
I mean, I got it. I think I beat it before I got the shield armor.
Okay. those towers in the Frozen Wilds disable the shield armor.
Oh, that's dope as shit.
No, it's stupid.
That's dope as shit, actually. That's awesome.
I hate it.
They straight fuck you up.
I was like, oh, I spent like so much time trying to freaking get this stupid armor, and I go to the DLC, and the DLC is just like, you can't use that.
That's
all right. If I can ask you a question,
mad. Yeah, go ahead.
This game came out 2017?
Yes,
basically the exact same month as Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
And both big open world games, different kind of styles of it, and I guess we'll get into that later in the show. But how would you stack them up?
I would say for me, Breath of the Wild was slightly better than Horizon. Like, if I were rating them, I'd say Breath of the Wild is like a point, maybe 2 points above what Breath of the Wild, but not like.
And I'm pretty much the flip flop of that.
Yeah.
I think it's very close, and it comes down to very minute preferences.
Yep.
But which, I think we're gonna dig into Horizon. Huh?
I think we're gonna dig into some of those here.
Yeah.
Other games I played. I've been playing a lot of RPG Maker XP because I've been helping with making our Pokemon game. So that sort of counts, so I'm counting it. It's a very awesome tool, I'm not going to lie. As someone who has used like Unreal and Unity to some degree, Pokemon Essentials for RPG Maker is exceptionally easy. I know Chris had to watch like a ton of the tutorials and stuff to really learn how to use it and like do a lot more fiddling. And I think for me, literally being in the engine for like an hour and watching like 2 videos, I was like, okay, I know what pretty much everything in here does, minus a couple specific things. So yeah, it's a cool thing. You want to make a Pokemon game? Look up Pokemon Essentials. It's very easy to work with. Go have a fun time. I recommend it. Other than that, I replayed Psychonauts again.
How many times does that make it? Probably
like 4, maybe 5. Nowhere near Tales of Symphonia levels of replays. If you missed it, which you probably did because very few people care about Psychonauts other than me, it got listed on the Xbox store this week, and people could pre-install. And I'm going to be making a video about Psychonauts 1/2 very soon, and I needed to capture gameplay for it because the long plays for it are bad and not easily clippable. So I was like, screw it, I'll just play it. It's not a long game. So I played it all the way through. I finished this morning.
Nice.
It doesn't take me that long anymore. Who'd have thought? After playing it like 4 times, you play it pretty quickly. So Psychonauts still a good game, still a janky game, still don't like the last level, but everything else is great. That's all I got to say about that. Look out for a Psychonauts video coming eventually. Haven't decided whether we're going to drop that like ASAP or wait for a new announcement or something. So it's coming. It'll be fun. Stay tuned. Psychonauts, however, does not really have an open world, which is a bummer because our topic for today is what makes an open world good. So I'm gonna just get some brief thoughts from both of you. What is topic wise? So we have some direction. What's a topic you want to cover for making an open world good? And we'll dive into them one at a time.
I guess to me, there's like 2 different types of open world games. Okay. There's like the Breath of the Wild style. That's like the archetype where you can just go somewhere and figure out what's going on, big exploration focus. And then there's the checklist style where you just, you've got a checklist, you go to a place, you do a thing, and you check it off.
I don't see those as being different, really. Because like even Breath of the Wild has a checklist. It's just that checklist has freaking 900 Korok seeds on it.
Yeah.
So I guess if we want to start on topic, like what makes a good like checklist, like what makes a good checklist? What makes a good checklist like item?
like things to sites, like reasons to make you explore, basically.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what makes a good checklist is. Oh, sorry, I gotta sneeze. What makes a good checklist is a checklist that encourages you to explore and see cool things rather than a checklist that is there just to be done. So that's like, this is one of the things that in the Horizon versus Breath of the Wild debate, I think they both have their merits in different ways. Because Breath of the Wild has more of the, you can't see most of the checklist stuff. Like, you don't see where Korok seeds are on the map. You're blind to it. You kind of have to explore and poke around to find them. Some of the shrines you have to poke around to find. They're not like super visible from anywhere on the map. Which is a different approach. That's like, hey, there's a ton of stuff you know that's there. You have to explore in order to find it. And I think Horizon takes mainly the opposite approach, where as soon as you hop onto a tall neck and like get the section of the map unveiled, it's like, okay, here are all the things. Literally everything. If you buy the super cheap collectibles maps pretty early on, like, you know where everything is, except I think campfires don't show up. Like,
no, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, the only things that you cannot know where they are data points. Like the little things you scan to get backstory on the world. Yep. Those are the only things that don't show up on Horizon's map.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the ones in the open world specifically are very forgettable.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's the one thing in the game I didn't even bother trying to collect all of, because it's like some of them are like advertisement for a car, and I'm like, that's not an interesting part of the story.
Thanks.
That's not interesting lore.
Yeah, so I think those are two different approaches, and I don't think one is inherently better than the other. But I think I prefer the Horizon route most of the time. How do you two feel?
I'm generally that way too, because it's, again, like I've said, it's very similar to how Far Cry does it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Far Cry just uses radio towers instead of tall necks.
Yeah.
But it's like, climb this big thing, learn the surrounding area, generally a good idea of where everything is in the surrounding area, and then go enjoy it then go decide what parts you want to explore, what things you want to collect, and whether you want to, find those few small things that aren't on the map. So I generally do really like that. I think Breath of the Wild still works because luckily there aren't a ton of just blank zones in Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you don't know where everything is, generally you tend to find things. So you're not just wandering around aimlessly. But I do prefer generally that Horizon Far Cry thing where it sort of tells you where you want to go, but there's still the joy of actually doing the exploration yourself.
Yeah, I would say even for me, like, I think The Witcher takes my favorite approach out of the three, which is to put a question mark there.
Oh, that's true as well.
So it's like, because I like the Horizon approach in kind of the FOMO thing, where it's like, if I know where all the points are, I can explore what I want to explore, and I know I'm not missing anything huge that's important to me. Whereas for a game like Breath of the Wild, where you have to explore in order to unveil anything, it's like I could be missing some super cool stuff, and I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I have to literally explore every square inch of the world to figure that out. And I think Witcher is a good middle ground, where when you see a portion of the map or reveal a portion of the map, it doesn't tell you what the point of interest is. It just says, here's a question mark, there's something here.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, I know if I want to explore everything, which Witcher 3 had too many things for me personally, but but I liked that approach of, here's a question mark, there's still a mystery of like what's there, but it's there. If I go check out all the question marks, there won't be anything. Like, I won't have missed anything.
Right.
I think it is what makes a good checklist is, things that, like you said, things that make you want to go explore. But the other thing is, if the core gameplay is good, if it's fun to click the buttons,
yeah,
then just a checklist that gives you like a goal to click more buttons is like good enough for me. And this is where I bring in one of my all-time favorites and thoroughly underrated game, Mad Max.
Oh, okay.
I haven't played it. I've heard not just from you that it's really good though.
Yeah, I same here. I have never played it, but I heard it was a bit of an underrated. Now, I wouldn't say gem maybe, but it was an underrated. It was an underrated, surprisingly good game.
Yeah, and like if you're going in to explore, you're gonna find desert. There's desert over here. There's desert over there. There's a couple dead trees in a desert up top. Maybe some brown instead of just beige. That's about all you're getting. But driving around, doing the car combat, killing convoys, using like your harpoons and your shunts and like the punching, which is just Batman Arkham punching, but with like less stickiness, more weight to it. All that feels really good. So just a game that can make me drive to a minefield or drive to like a convoy loop and kill it, and that feels good, is enough for me. I'm driving through the desert, but I'm having a blast doing it and building my new car.
Yeah, I guess wherever the goal for your checklist is, it has to be something fun, right?
Yeah.
Which I think, tying back to Horizon because it's fresh, I think that was some of my issues with it, was most of the points are machine sites. So there are less things to go in and clear. Like, I don't feel the need to go in and clear every machine site because there's no purpose to do that.
Right.
It's like, okay, you can get parts, but you can't hold enough resources for that anyway. So, don't. But
it's Breath of the Wild, where what are you going to find? It's a shrine. You're going to find a shrine, maybe a coral, and the shrines are pretty samey. Like, they've all got their little puzzle, but
yeah. But for Breath of the Wild, finding the shrine challenges, like the ones that don't take place in the little hut, the ones that are more like the shrine quests. Finding shrine quests was probably the funnest part of Breath of the Wild's exploration.
Yeah,
because those have some pretty unique areas, like the 3 big mazes, or the big spirally island, or the big spirally beach, or those things.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah, those were all really fun. I agree with
that. The like combat, the core gameplay of Breath of the Wild is fine. It's fine. But the thing that Breath of the Wild does is you get to the shrine and you have a fine time in the shrine, but what you're really doing is the shrines make you explore the world, and the world is what you're really seeing.
Yep.
That's what you're there for. Because it's a fucking beautiful world with all sorts of like different biomes, different things and like little story bits, little combat challenges, just
and you're going to the shrine so that you can have more stamina, so you can finally climb that stupid mountain that has been plaguing you for the past like 20 hours of the game.
and that's what makes Breath of the Wild good. And I think that's a very different like goal than, I guess it depends on whether you're there for the gameplay or whether you're there for the world.
Yeah, Zach in our chat brings up another good one I was going to bring up, which is Ghost of Tsushima, which has a fantastic open world. It's utterly great. Traversal is very easy. Fast travel is easy. They use wind and birds and stuff to get your attention as you're traveling to go check out point of interest. So it's less aimless than Breath of the Wild, but not quite as directed as like a Horizon or even like a Witcher 3. And then all of those points pretty much had something cool. They had some fox shrines and stuff that did get old after a while, but like the duels were amazing. The quests to check out like different legendary armor and weapons were amazing. Like every point of interest in that game, minus the shrines, was like, okay, this is something that's going to be cool. So it was very, seeing that like yellow bird fly next to you and start pointing you in direction was always like, oh, cool, something neat's going to be over here. And you don't necessarily know what it is.
Another series I want to bring up, especially since Elise mentioned how cool the different biomes of Breath of the Wild are, is Xenoblade Chronicles. Both the first one and especially X have some phenomenal open worldness to them, partly because the worlds are so unique. Obviously, for Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, you are climbing up a giant robot. So a lot of like the special points you could find are very interesting, because it's like, hey, look, here's its third thumb, or here's the tip of its kneecap. So it's very interesting, because not only is it's a gorgeous world with a lot of different biomes, the mountainous icy shoulders to the more plain like leg and thigh, but some of the special points you can find are very interesting. Mm-hmm. But the great thing that both the Xenoblade games do is they have the tyrant variant enemies, who are basically like, stronger forms of normal enemies and are essentially just optional bosses. But while the game generally, obviously, as you get farther, the enemies get stronger, the variant mini bosses can be any level in any area. So it's very fun to be walking around early Xenoblade at like level 12. Then in the first area, you're just like, oh, this is kind of cool. And oh shit, there's a giant 50-foot tall level 91 herbivore. Luckily, it's not aggressive, so it won't kill me, but I literally won't be able to fight this thing for another 70 hours. But just wandering around and finding some of these things is exceptionally rewarding, because it's very cool to sort of see like, oh shit, there's some deadly stuff out there. I'm going to avoid this cave for the next 50 hours. You can bet your ass I'm coming back here at some point.
That's given me some very big WoW flashbacks. The first WoW expansion, when you go to God, I can't remember the name of the place. Whatever. You go to the new continent world, whatever it is. You get to this place, there's a huge like demon army fighting with like humans and Draenei paladins and all that stuff. As you're questing in the first zone, there's this giant like 200-foot tall robot called a Fell Reaver that just wanders around the first section of the expansion content, and it's a raid boss.
Oh.
So, not quite a raid boss, but like you need multiple people at max level to take it down.
Right.
At the time.
It's a world boss.
Yeah. It just wanders around, makes horrible mechanical noises, and stomps people. Like I will literally never forget the noise that it makes, because like if you heard that noise while you're questing, you need to like immediately pivot your camera around and be like, am I about to die, or can I still run? And that was a fun bit of open world stuff too. Frustrating at times, but also
yes. Fun. Yeah, depending on how aggro and how much it can kill you without you wanting it to, it can be frustrating. But in games where it's fun to discover things you can't fight yet without them immediately murdering you, it can be very cool to go and find those things.
As long as they're avoidable, yeah.
Right, exactly. If they're not avoidable, then yes, it's just gonna be frustrating to get killed by something you can't fight over and over again. Hey, Dark Souls.
I'd honestly blame Horizon a bit for that too. Not like Dark Souls level. So I want to transition this into a different topic, which is traversal for me.
Okay.
So basically, one of the key things for an open world is how you get around that world.
Right, because if it's a giant map, you don't want to walk from one end to the other.
You don't. You want a horse, you want a robot horse, you want a car, you want a plane, you want something to get around.
Or just fast travel.
Or fast travel. Fast travel in addition to those things. Like if you're going all the way across the world, you want some fast travel. If you're going relatively close but too far to fast travel or a new place, you want a horse or something.
Right.
So I think one of the big things for me is making an open world where you can get around easily, without just annoyances all the time.
Right.
So for Horizon, for me, and I'm going to compare Horizon to Ghost of Tsushima here, because I think their open worlds are very similar, but Ghost is easier for this topic. Horizon, especially in the beginning area, not so much in like the desert area later, when you're on your horse, first of all, having to override a horse each time until you invest skill points into it was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, slightly
that should have been a story thing. But when you're on the horse, it is very easy for your horse to just get hit and you and like die. Like, it is super easy for that to happen, and you accidentally get into a fight that you can win, but it's going to use like all of your materials, and all of your arrows literally cost money. So that was infuriating for me. And later in the game, it starts to go away as you max out your skills and the areas themselves open up more. Like the deserty area is a lot more open. There's a lot more room to maneuver than the mountainy areas. But there's also things that have guns and can just shoot your horse into oblivion. So it's not perfect. But a game like Ghost of Tsushima has... Uh-oh, did we lose Elise? Oh, just briefly. Okay. Trying to fix your camera?
Yeah, it's been unfocused for the last, 10 minutes.
Oh. Why?
So blurry.
Sort of fixed it. Not all the way, but better. But I think Ghost of Tsushima had a lot of the similar things where there are bandits and Mongols all over the place. It's not an unusual situation to be riding down the road and there's random Mongol patrol or random bandits, and you can just ride past them and they'll shoot arrows at you, and the further you get in the game, the less that matters. So it's just like, I can just ride past these. But even in the beginning, like if you're trying to get somewhere, you don't have to fight them. And it's very rare that they'll hit you as you're like just riding past. But if you are trying to go to an area that is beyond your level, the people there are going to dismount you, or you'll go to a place where they just automatically hit you. So I think Ghost does a really good job of controlling that. Elise just has her lap their keyboard. Roxas will focus. Actually, sort of is. That's weird.
He fixed it.
And I think Horizon, especially coming out at the same time as Breath of the Wild, I think hurt it a lot in the comparisons for traversal. Because Breath of the Wild, you can just get a horse and ride wherever you want. Like, unless there's a hill you can't go up with your horse, you can pretty much go anywhere. And if there is a hill you can't go up with your horse, you can just climb it, no matter what it is.
Well, I was going to say the horses in Breath of the Wild are kind of useless. Not because...
I will parrot Chris, and that horse riding in Breath of the Wild sucks. And I used it almost never.
I used it a good amount.
You can't really? I almost never use horse in Breath of the Wild. I despised every part of it. Having to tame them, having to store them in stables.
Okay, the taming was annoying, but once you had them tamed, like, it didn't matter.
The taming was annoying. The thing for me that made me almost never use them is you fast travel, and now you don't have a horse anymore.
You
go to a shrine.
You just whistle, they show up.
No, they don't. They've got a very good range.
I'm just like not remembering that correctly.
Yeah.
Again, I almost never use horses, so I can't remember.
If they're not like within earshot, they don't come, and you need to go back to them and like fast travel back, or.
You might be right, but like the horses were still good for exploring new areas because you're obviously not fast traveling in the new areas.
And the DLC added the motorcycle.
Yeah, the motorcycle horse.
They did also add, I think one of the DLC horses could teleport to you or something. There's like a special one.
Yeah, but I guess where I was going, I wasn't actually going to bring up the horses. It was more the climbing part. But that's fair. Yeah, the horses do suck more than I remember now that we're talking about it more. They weren't great. I don't think the Horizon horses are great either. For similar problems of having to tame them. Unless you invest skill points, which that whole tree is a waste of time. So, actually, wait, no, it's on the override tree. That's not a waste of time. But like, climbing is a whole thing, and I think that hurt Horizon more than anything is Horizon has very limited climbing. Like, if there ain't a handhold, and there aren't that many handholds, you aren't climbing.
Yeah, climbing in Horizon is more of a story thing. Yep. Like, there's story-based climbing segments that aren't fun because climbing is just pointing your controller in the right direction and occasionally hitting A or X or jump or whatever. So yeah, the climbing was not a benefit to Horizon's traversal.
Well, then Assassin's Creed Origins came out like a year after or something, and it basically aped Breath of the Wild's climbing, but like translated it into because Assassin's Creed is
Origins and Odyssey both pretty much took that one, and there's no stamina though, right?
There's no stamina as far as I remember, but you can just you can climb on anything anywhere, which Assassin's Creed has always had climbing, but it's always been like kind of limited. They've had the parkour, but you need to use windows or trees or whatever. And they just translated to, you can climb up a cliff. You can climb up this Abbott building, no problem.
Yeah, and I think like I'm okay with it being limited. It's a matter of like how limited is it?
Yeah.
Because like it seems I think Horizon had the dichotomy of the story content and the open world content, where the story content, you are climbing all the frickin' time.
Yes.
Everywhere. So much climbing. And then as soon as you're in the open world, it's like, well, that ledge is just like a millimeter for me being able to jump on top of it, but I can't get on it. Okay. Cool.
Okay, then.
There's a thing up there I'd really like to get to.
Let me see if I can gimmick jump. Let me see if I can gimmick jump these rocks in a way that I shouldn't. Which works more often than it should.
Yeah, it really does. But I really think that really, I think, hurt Horizon a lot, was having that dichotomy between Breath of the Wild releasing within a couple weeks, basically, of their game, plus having all the climbing in the story, minus any of the climbing outside of the story, made traversal just annoying. Because there were plenty of places where I was like, man, I am a fat dude, and I could climb that. Why can Aloy, like this fit badass hunter woman, not get over that tiny ledge?
This is a very brief aside, but just your statement reminded me. In Witcher 3, you take fall damage from very small drops sometimes, and I'd be like, Geralt, I could jump down from that ledge unharmed. Why is superhuman witch guy losing a third of his health from jumping 2 feet down a ledge? You can take 8 arrows to the face and survive, but if you jump off a 3-foot ledge, you almost die.
Mm-hmm. No, that sounds accurate.
Brief aside to how one of my weirdest criticisms of The Witcher was fall damage was really random.
Fall damage was way too high. And I do think that ties into open worlds, like...
Yes, should open world games have fall damage?
Well, I think it makes sense for them to have fall damage, but like...
Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
Some of it, I feel like there needs to be some suspension of disbelief to enable more fun. Like,
yes,
okay,
absolutely.
Maybe bring the fall damage not engaging until higher up than 3 feet for Geralt.
Right. I shouldn't be able to jump off a cliff and survive, but please don't make me have to use potions every time I jump down a slightly tall rock.
Or if I think I'm just going to be able to walk down a thing and it just is like, no, you're falling.
I can slide down this, right? No, you're falling down this. Damn it.
Am I dead? No, but I'm very close.
But I'm very close. Time to go find some medicinal orca bloom.
Want that sagebrush from the Frozen Wilds.
there's an elephant in the room that we've been ignoring, which doesn't have good traversal. It's got pretty trash traversal. It doesn't have like a checklist in the same sense. The gameplay kind of sucks. And yet it's like the most beloved, or one of the most beloved games of all time, and that's Skyrim, or the Elder Scrolls series.
Oh.
And like Fallout by extension.
Yeah. I was going to say, when you started saying that, I was going to say Fallout New Vegas, and I was actually going to wanted to switch the topic to what games kind of fail at open world sometimes.
Yeah.
So feel free to take it away with Skyrim first, because I want to talk about New Vegas a little bit.
Sure, I'll probably come in on New Vegas, but I'll let you take the lead on that one. But like Skyrim, I think it's because, like New Vegas, like all of them before, it's not coming from an open world like genre lens, because that's not what the Elder Scrolls series, like, that's not the lineage that they have. The lineage that they have is from CRPGs.
I would not agree with you on that one. Because, like, all the way back from Daggerfall, it's been basically a giant open world game for all the...
Yeah, but Daggerfall was, like, building off of, obviously Arena, but also, like, Ultima Underworld, in the Ultima games.
I just mean, I feel like once you're at the 5th game in a series, the 4th of which has been open world, I don't know that the argument of that your lineage isn't open world stands.
I guess what I mean it's coming from a different lineage from the other games that we've been talking about. All those games, I think, I don't know where they started. I would put that at like the early Assassin's Creed games is like kind of but there might be something before that.
Yeah, I think Assassin's Creed probably had the biggest influence on, I would say, all 3 of the big games we've been talking about: Breath of the Wild, Ghost, and Horizon.
Yeah. Whereas that's not the type of game that the Elder Scrolls is. The Elder Scrolls is, well, for one, it's a quest-based game. You're not there to fill out like a checklist at an area. You're there to find a quest and then do a quest, which is, I think, a big takeaway from the like CRPG, from the like tabletop RPG space, that is very different from like the other games that we've been talking about, because it's much more of an RPG, I think, is what it comes down to. It's much more of a, talking to people, making dialogue decisions, making story decisions, and experiencing the world, not just by shooting things or hacking at things, but by talking to people. And
that's true.
Skyrim, I think, is a great game, but it has a lot of problems, especially on that front. I think Oblivion is probably, in that sense, a better game, in my opinion. I haven't played a lot of Morrowind, but that's why it's so beloved. Morrowind is a very hostile game to play these days, because the everything about it is...
It's old at this point.
It's old. And like even at the time it was obtuse, and it was, but like if you can manage through that, there's a reason that people love Morrowind so much. It's because it's got such a great world, such a great like story and writing. And I guess for you, I think that's why people love Fallout New Vegas so much.
And I think the Fallout games, the Elder Scrolls games, I think they actually use a system very similar to Breath of the Wild. So I think Breath of the Wild has this like dual heritage to it, where there will be a big clear thing to go to on your map or visually that you see. And on your journey there is where you encounter quests. Or once you get to the thing, they give you quests to then have you go explore other places. And then as you're exploring those other places, you see a big thing and then you go to it. Like, I hate quoting Todd Howard positively in this, but like you see the mountain, you can climb it, sort of thing. Of like, you see the City of Solitude, and you're like, okay, I guess I should go there. And then you get quests, and then you end up exploring the world that way. Whereas like Breath of the Wild was like, well, there's a giant volcano over there. That looks interesting. There's a water village thing over there. There's a bunch of people that can fly over there. And then you run into things on your way to those big set pieces. So I think they use similar exploration methods. And I agree, Skyrim is a good game that has a lot of flaws.
I've played Skyrim like 4 or 5 times, like, but when I think about it critically, I'm like, wow, this game kind of sucks.
I could never get into Skyrim. Couldn't get into it.
Hey, Skyrim, you can climb anything. You just needed a horse.
Horse and a lot of patience.
I mean, at launch, you didn't need patience. Horses just climbed everything. Prij, how are you going to bring New Vegas into this one?
Because, again, New Vegas is another of those games that a lot of people really like it, and while I do enjoy it, I think a lot of the gameplay parts of it are not great, and I think traversal and open world is part of that. New Vegas has a pretty decent-sized map, and very little of it is interesting outside of the direct places you're supposed to go to.
Mm-hmm.
To quote Elise on Mad Max, there is a lot of beige.
Yeah, especially at the beginning of New Vegas, where you don't exactly know where to go. Yeah. You can go like 3 directions from the starting place,
and one of them is certain death.
Yeah, and one of them is certain death. One of them is just pointless, and one's the actual way, and they don't tell you.
Well, they kind of tell you. They tell you.
Yeah, they don't leave you completely in the dark. That's what Dark Souls leaves you completely in the dark.
I hate that series so much. It's great.
Yeah, see how I like just slide in subtle jabs of the first Dark Souls game, even we're not talking about it. That's my brand. Again, and I don't remember. Does New Vegas have a lot of fast travel points, or it's been too long since I've played it.
It's got enough.
It has a good amount. I wouldn't say they have enough, but like they'll have one on each end of the nothing that's in the game, so you don't have to retread through the nothing again.
That's fair.
Like every town, every point of interest is a fast travel point.
It's if you cross an empty desert, there will be a point of interest so that you do not have to cross it again.
Yeah, that's true, because let me tell you, there are some parts in New Vegas, especially when you're getting hunted. If you're at a point where you're getting hunted by Caesar's Legion, and if you spend more than 5 seconds in the open world, there are just 4 guys running at you trying to kill you.
Yeah,
and I'm like, Jesus Christ! Thank God I enjoy the story, or else I would probably have stopped playing this game right now.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that New Vegas isn't a good open world game in that that's not where its strengths lie. What it is
exactly.
It's a really, really good CRPG. Like, if you compare it to Ghost of Tsushima, Mad Max, like the newer Assassin's Creed games, Horizon Zero Dawn, whatever, on their merits, New Vegas fails like hard.
Yeah,
I would say even 2 Assassin's Creed games from the time have better open worlds than New Vegas.
Oh, that's true. I was just saying, like, those are some of our favorites. But if you compare it to what I think are its direct contemporaries, or its kind of genre, which is compared to Mass Effect, compared to Knights of the Old Republic, or Pillars of Eternity, which came out a little bit later, but and on that sense, like, I love those games, at least most of them. I love all of them.
I think you're right. I would put them more with those games than.
Yeah, and New Vegas is one of the best ones of those.
That's fair. Are there any other good ones? I mean, there's GTA. I think that's the big elephant in the room on open world games.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned GTA, which I unfortunately don't have a lot of experience with, so I can't add too much to that.
I'm not a huge fan of GTA either. I've played a couple hours.
I've played the single player of all of them since 3, I think. And honestly, they have pretty solid open worlds. I think it's mostly due to, again, the traversal for me. So it's very easy to get from point A to point B, whether it's fast travel or car or plane or helicopter or whatever. And travel gets easier the more you progress because it's easier to get flying vehicles. And then from like interest standpoint of like seeing points of interest and stuff, I actually think that's one of the things GTA lacks. The points of interest for the most part aren't points of interest. Most of them are like, here's a shop, here's a house you can buy. There are exceptions, which are like certain events, like San Andreas has a lot of the gang territory fights and stuff like that that have bigger points of interest and stuff like that. But most of the set pieces and things don't really come from the open world. Like it's just quests. And even for the quests, half the time, if you're ignoring them, people will just straight up call you. There's not like a hub or anything.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, hey, come talk to me. And you're like, okay, I'll come when I feel like it. And it just puts a point on the map for you to go do the quest. So
stop calling me.
I would say for GTA, traversal, they do excellently. I don't think they really have a checklist. I mean, there's like some collectibles and stuff. They don't really mark them.
Yeah.
It's not like a Spider-Man would be another recent one that I would say does a great job with collectibles and things of.
Yeah, Spider-Man does do it. Again, the open world is good size, but it's not dauntingly big, and you can fast travel around and find things.
Yeah,
without too much difficulty.
I always fall off GTA whenever I try to play it, is that I don't know what there is to do.
That's the thing. There is deceptively not a lot to do. Like the multiplayer, that's a different story. But strictly from a single player point of view, there's really not a ton. It's like, okay, you can go hijack a taxi and be a cab driver. Great. You can like hijack a cop car and like go to crime scenes and basically just shoot people and take their money. Cool. There's not really a ton to do outside of that. There's a few mini games and things, but
shocker, in Grand Theft Auto, you can commit Grand Theft Auto.
I would go so far to say that's the whole point of the game.
And that's the thing, is like, what can you do? You can commit Grand Theft Auto, you can drive around, shoot a couple of guys, and the shooting is kind of shit.
Yeah, shooting's not good in GTA.
That's like about it in that game, which is, I guess, why I never saw the appeal.
I think of GTA more, it was like a sandbox than a open world. Like I'd put it more with like a Just Cause. Like,
especially with what the modding community has done to GTA Online, it's like it finds its most joy, especially at this point, in being a sandbox.
Yeah, you can have a lot of fun, but a lot of that fun isn't so much from open world design as it is like just giving you a bunch of tools in a box.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Just Cause, like as a single player game, that game is fine. But
as a physics sandbox,
back when it had like multiplayer servers that were good, because all the ones now are like barely populated and have trash rules. I think it was back on the NerdCube server. I'd log into there with a couple of friends and just have a blast doing bullshit. And I guess that's the appeal of GTA.
That is Just Cause and GTA. Yeah, it's just doing bullshit.
Like get the entire server in a convoy. Get planes and trains and automobiles.
Well, even GTA Online has a lot of like quests and heists and stuff, and some of the biggest, most popular servers are actually just RP servers where you have a role and you play it, which I guess that is open world, but it's more of an RP thing than an open world thing.
Yeah.
Herlock Sholmes, great name, absolutely fantastic name. In our chat brings up the Outer Worlds. I don't know that I would consider Outer Worlds an open game, especially.
It
is, but it's also
not. New Vegas, because what it is the same. It is the same thing. It's a CRPG type game in an open world shop. The same as New Vegas, kind of the same as Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, I think it suffers from pretty much all the same things as New Vegas to a lesser degree, but still suffers from all of them, as there's not a ton outside the quests to do. There's not a ton outside the quest to explore. That's pretty much how I feel. Outer Wilds, if you consider that an open world game, which it sort of works, we could talk about that.
I guess if we're gonna like bring that up, is that there's the open world genre, and then there's games with an open world.
That's true. I wouldn't consider it an open world genre. Yeah.
It's like Outer Wilds technically has an open world. That's not an open world game. Like
Zach also brings up Prey as an open world, which I have not played. Have either of you played?
Yeah, sorry, Zach, never played that one.
I did just say System Shock, and then Zach said Prey, which those are the same game. Like Prey is a direct spiritual successor to System Shock, and that's what I said. It's an immersive sim. It's not, and it does have an open world in a way. It very gated off in some, at least in the beginning, by either skill or knowledge or actual like upgrades that you need to get places, and just to like make your way through slowly. But it isn't like in the open world genre. I don't think it's an immersive sim is what it is.
It's a game with a semi-open world, not an open world game. Yeah, I think that's fair from what I've heard anyway. Are there any others y'all want to discuss? I can't think of anything else personally.
I mean, I think we've talked about the major things: what to discover, traversal. A lot of the major.
I guess the last thing to bring up is just also making it a living world. So like all the places need to make sense. There needs to be people, unless you're trying to do a Fallout 76 where everyone's like dead. But yeah, there needs to be people. There needs to be some sort of storylines to explain what's going on. Like,
right.
There needs to be good world building, but I think that's true of really any game, not necessarily just an open world game, which is why I didn't bring it up earlier. But I guess making the world feel lived is important.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that makes Breath of the Wild fail, but Horizon actually does a good job, and Ghost of Tsushima does a fantastic job with it. Trying to think of some other good examples. I don't know. Did Mad Max have that, Elise?
I think so.
Yeah, just want to make the world feel lived. I think that's one of my problems with like the Far Cry series in particular. Is usually you're just like in a place, everything's freaking hostile. The animals are hostile. All the people living there are hostile. There might be 5 people that don't want to kill you, and they're your quest givers. And there might be a couple people that are giving you quests that also want to kill you. And
one of my favorite things of the Far Cry games is like wild animals are so hostile to you that I've seen like tigers literally walk past like a group of pigs doing nothing to try and attack a guy with a shotgun. And I'm like, I don't think that's how wild animal works. I think they take the easy kill. I think they take the docile herbivore, not the 6-foot-tall dude with the guns that they probably at least have some sort of preservation instinct to know that humans with those are dangerous. Why does everything on this island hate me so much?
Yeah, and that's how I felt with Horizon up until a point that you probably know that I'm talking about, Prij, but I won't spoil.
Animals, like in the real world, are deemed unreleasable, like in sanctuaries and stuff, are deemed unreleasable if they aren't scared of humans enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they'll get themselves killed.
But man, you play a Far Cry game, that fucking Komodo dragon will not let you go.
That thing fucking smells you and only you from 100 miles away. And it knows you are apparently the only thing worth killing.
And I especially love the open world ones with like hostile wildlife, where the wildlife is fighting a guy and you shoot the guy and kill them. And the wildlife, instead of just being like, okay, we're chill now, or this guy's dead, I'm a munch on his bones, is like, now I hate you.
Now I hate you. I wasn't killing for food. I was killing out of my deep-seated hatred for humans.
You're on the menu now, and I'm like, wait, I just gave you food. Leave me alone. I mean, listen, if I shot the Komodo dragon as it was killing the guys, and then it killed the guy and was like, I'm going to kill you next, I'd understand. I get that. That's fine. But no, if I shoot your target and then you're hostile to me, fuck off. That's not cool, Komodo dragon. Not cool.
That's rude.
iOS, what was the first game with a good open world? You don't...
Oh, God.
That's a good question.
I would...
the order the games came out.
Is it RuneScape? Hayo is the correct answer. RuneScape.
I wouldn't put MMOs into the open world category.
I know. It's a little cheating.
It's cheating. I guess I would probably say like one of the earlier Far Cry or Assassin's Creed games would be my guess.
I think, yeah, the Far Cry Assassin's Creed games are the ones that really like solidified the current genre of open world. But then you could also say like Morrowind, like Daggerfall.
Morrowind come out? Daggerfall had a lot of issues with just being empty, though.
Was Morrowind 2000?
God damn, okay, it's older than I thought.
Give me a sec.
Where's some...
Look it up.
First good...
2002. Was Morrowind.
I mean, yeah, technically The Legend of Zelda, the early ones were open world, like Link to the Past and the original.
Yeah, Link to the Past. The original kind of sucks.
Yeah, it did.
So this random article I pulled out said the first true open world game is the text-only game from 1976, Colossal Cave Adventure.
Yeah, Hayo, I believe, said first good open
Damn
world.
Damn it, he's got a point.
Yeah, I would probably say it would be like Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past or something then.
Yeah.
That was... It was 2D open world, but it was open world.
Yeah.
You can pretty much go do whatever you want.
Yeah, you can explore it in any order, truly.
Yeah. Yeah,
so I haven't actually played Link to the Past.
Great
I
Zelda
played
game.
The first hour or two of it.
Great
but
Zelda.
I have played Link's Awakening.
If you want a modern A Link to the Past, play Link Between the Worlds.
I think I literally just deleted that from my 3DS.
It's literally the same world as the Link to the Past. So
let me see. I got my 2DS right here. I was just putting games on it, and I had to delete a couple games.
It's a good one. It's more modern because it has like some more modern puzzles and extra powers and stuff like that. So I would play that one.
And yeah, I did delete Link Between Worlds.
You jerk. Absolute jerk.
I mean, I can get it back.
But nope, gone forever.
All right. I think that's going to do it for our open world discussion. Any closing thoughts?
Play Mad Max, y'all. Game's good.
That's fair. Play Mad Max. I won't, but some of you all should play Mad Max.
What it is, and I've probably said this to y'all before, but what it is if you like the Batman Arkham games, if you like the like pre-Origins and even post-Origins Assassin's Creed games, it is the example of that formula. It is just pure that formula, and it's good. But it's not deep.
But it has cars.
But it has cars and car combat, and your car has a thunder poon on it.
It's the closest we're gonna get to Twisted Metal, y'all. All right, cool. I guess with that, I'm just gonna plug a ton of stuff. So if you are tuning in live, I don't even if you're not tuning in live, Mondays going forward are going to be our Pokemon Emerald Nuzlocke run. That's with Chris, Zach, and Jason. That's Mondays at 7:30 Eastern. Wednesdays at 7:30 Eastern, we have Ace Attorney with an actual lawyer starring Prij here, along with Zach and Wes. That series is super cool. I believe we're getting close to the end of the first game. Should be almost there, right?
Yes. I mean, this last case is a doozy with how long it's taking.
So long.
But I'd estimate Probably, unfortunately, still like 5 more weeks, though.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Right. I was thinking like 2 or 3.
Oh my
No, because we're going to need
God.
1 more week to finish this trial, then probably 2 weeks of investigation and 2 weeks of the last trial day.
Oh my God.
Unless one of them thankfully decides to be shorter than what I expect, but
this game. Still, tune in. It's a blast. This past week's episode took place at the beginning in bathtubs due to some fantastic donations from the community. Those recordings, if you can't catch them live, are usually up the following Monday and Tuesday if it's a 2-parter, which I think they all have been recently. Thursdays, catch Around the Monitor, 7:30 Eastern. And then we'll be back with this show in 2 weeks, bi-weekly, 7:30 Eastern on Fridays. Catch Around the Monitor and this show on podcast networks all over the place if you prefer the audio version. And if it's not on a network that you use, please just ping us on like Twitter or Discord and we'll add it. It's super easy. We got all the major ones, but if you use a smaller one, we might not have gotten that one. Prij release, anything else to plug?
if I'm correct, our next episode of this show is going to be predictions for Summer's Game Fest and E3, right? Which is always
that is very true.
Which is always a fun time because we get really hyped around this. We'll try and do live watches to as many of these events as possible. So our prediction show tends to be a good experience because we get to make a lot of wild claims, and
it's gonna be fun. I got some already that I have teed up that I'm excited for.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good summer because there's a lot of things we want to hear more about, and it's gonna be fun to try and guess which ones we actually do.
It'll be a fun time. So please tune in 2 weeks from today. That's gonna be May 21st. We'll do our E3 Summer Game Fest predictions. It should be an absolute blast.
Yeah.
So tune in, and then we'll do live coverage of E3 a couple weeks after that. Anything else, Elise?
At some point in the future, we're going to get back to Disco Elysium as well. Probably after we finish like the Pokemon Nuzlocke, I think is.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that at some point.
Which means it could be starting in a while or soon if Zach just insta Nuzlocke. Who knows?
No, we need Ligma to at least evolve all the way. I think with that, last thing, there's going to be a Psychonauts thing coming. I just have to say it again. There's a Psychonauts thing coming having to do with Psychonauts 1 and 2, why you should be excited for Psychonauts 2, even if you haven't played 1. It's been in the pipe for a long time, and I've just not been getting it done. But now I'm getting it done because that game's coming soon. So look forward to that probably the next few weeks. With that, I think that's it. So, everyone out there, have a wonderful day. And we'll see you next time. Peace out.